So, welcome to the interview event for all of our board applicants. I've already told all the applicants what's going to happen, so don't worry if I only explain the evening very briefly now. So, first, we're going to have an individual part. So each of the candidates has their own few minutes to answer questions, and then all the other applicants are outside the room, so they won't be seeing or hearing anything that the other applicants say. The individual part is probably going to take about like 50 minutes or something. If we can keep it shorter, that's a good thing. So let's not give like super long answers to any questions, please. After the individual part, we're going to have a short break, about 10 minutes. And then after the break, the panel section starts. So then we're going to have all the candidates up front here at the same time answering questions based on which areas of responsibility they've applied for. So basically, we'll move from one responsibility to another, and all those who have applied for that specific role or responsibility will answer a question. After the regular questions, we'll also have some yes or no questions, and after that we'll have a chance for you RepCo members to ask any questions that you might want to hear. That's basically how the evening is going to continue, but I won't be the one talking here. We have Teemu Riipi here, and he will be the one interviewing all the candidates, both in the individual part and the panel section. Teemu, do you want to introduce yourself?
Microphone check. Great. Works just as promised. So good to see everybody. And my name is Teemu Riipi, as Elina mentioned before, and great to be on this side of the table, to be honest. Good luck to all the candidates for the KY Executive Board. I myself was in your position like 8 years ago or so. So I was in the 2014 KY Board, responsible for academic affairs. And since then, I've been chairing the Representative Council and doing all kinds of other stuff, now working in healthcare consulting, and managed to finish my work before coming here, which is positive. It wasn't a sure shot a couple of hours ago, but let's have fun and let's ask some tough questions and find good answers for them.
Yes. So if no one has any questions now, no, okay, we can start. I'm only gonna tell the first person to stay. That was not even proper English, but anyway, so we have a random order of candidates in the first part. I have already I don't even know how to say arpoa in English, but anyway, like we have already drawn the order randomly before this event, so that we don't have to spend time doing it now. But the first person who I want to stay here is Veeti. So welcome. And then all the other candidates can go to the spot that we agreed on. And I'll come get the next one briefly. And also I'm going to tell you who the next one is so that they can prepare. But that's basically all from me. Teemu, you can start.
Thank you very much. And good luck to you as well, Veeti. And so you've got, like, as Elina mentioned before, you've got like, we have 3 questions, 1 minute to answer for each as a sort of a rule of thumb. And so keep it short, keep it simple, as concise as possible. But I don't know, maybe the first one would be the hardest of them all to answer. I would like you to introduce yourself.
Okay, this is hard. So I'm Veeti Heikkinen. I'm 22 years old, 4th-year student here in Aalto University, majoring in information and service management. And I'm also a 1st-year computer science student in the University of Helsinki. So during my years at KY, I've been active first at the cultural subcommittee. And after that, I've been attending a lot of events. But then I gained the experience and the concrete ideas that I actually want to put to action. And I'm most interested in the roles of vice chair and both premises.
Great, that was an excellent performance on there. And let's get a little bit more into the nitty gritty. What do you think is the most important thing or topic that KY should be focusing on in 2022?
In 2020, I think there's
Next
two
year.
two most important things that we should focus on and we can actually achieve with concrete actions. Those are regarding the premises and the well-being of our students and volunteers. First of all, the premises, they have done a fantastic job in the previous years with the temporary premises and getting the student center actually moving forward. But even with the Saha and the upcoming student center, we still don't have the real premises that we need to sustain KY culture. So that's one thing that we need to make clear. And the other part is by actually bring the well-being of our volunteers to a much higher standard by actually not putting so much pressure into it. And what KY board should do on it is actually being closer to the volunteers and know what's going on in their lives instead of just like assuming that they can be used unlimitlessly.
Sounds great. Those are really great topics, great ideas. You mentioned in your application that you have knowledge about real estate markets, and that was really interesting. How do you see that you can use that knowledge and that would help you, KY, in its premises projects, for example?
Yeah, I also mentioned that the projects that KY is going to have in the future are something that I still need to educate myself on. But the experience that I've gained, I know a lot about the things that are going on in the real estate market at the moment and about all the rising construction costs and all that stuff that are going to become relevant even with the student center. And I think just to have the understanding and the enthusiasm for it is something that's going to actually be beneficial.
Great thoughts in under 3 minutes. Hey, let's have a round of applause for Veeti. Thank you very much.
Next up, we're going to have Karen Visuri. She's just coming in. It might be kind of hard for it to stay on, but you can try if you want to put it on a chair or something.
Once again, technical difficulties outside of ICT. Karen, good luck to you as well. And so you've got, in summary, 3 questions coming up, and short answers are wished upon. So you've got like 1 minute each to answer as a rule of thumb. And let's get to business. I would like you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I'm a second-year master's student, and I came to Aalto 1 year ago, so I'm quite new at Aalto. And before that, I studied at Hanken, and I was very active at the student union there. So now I'm here applying to KY's board because I enjoyed the student life.
Can't get enough of it. What do you think is the most important thing or topic that KY should be focusing on next year?
Maybe the both like mental being and then the fact that every student feels like they are accepted and that nobody's left alone, because there are so many students that everybody should feel okay and comfortable during their studies, and both in the studies and in the student union.
Have we got like any concrete ideas on that? What could we be doing?
Maybe taking more of the clubs and the societies and getting them to be more active, because when I came as a master's student, it was very hard to get involved. So I would like to change that so that all the master's students would feel very welcome and that they can easily take part in the activities.
Sounds fantastic. One more question about your application specifically. You mentioned in your application that as a member of the board, you would like to make KY a more welcoming place for incoming master students, which you were already talking about. And actually, that was one of the questions that we were talking about. Have you got like any more perhaps longer term ideas or like approaches or visions of like what KY could be doing in like 5 years from now. We've got the short-term actions. What about in the future after that?
Do you mean for like the whole KY?
Yeah, more like a strategic level type of thing, like whole KY level, perhaps.
Next 5 years. Because it has been the pandemic now for so long, so maybe adjusting so that in case everything has to be online once more, so preparing for that, or then if everything's going to be present, being prepared so that if the situation changes quickly, that the student union can take action and make the environment nice for everybody, if it's online or if it's present, so being prepared.
A really important topic, and once again, under 3 minutes. Hey, thank you very much, Karen. Round of applause. Maybe I should read the questions beforehand.
Next up, we have Laura Nicola. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. For sure.
Good to see you, Laura. And as we went before in the briefing before this whole session began, and as Elina talked to you, you've got like 3 questions coming up, and we wish that you answer concisely and in a short amount of time. So like 1 minute per each answer. Each answer would be a good rule of thumb. And let's start with perhaps the easy part or the hard part. I would like you to introduce yourself.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Laura. I'm a master's student majoring in information and service management, and born and raised in Helsinki, but currently living here in Espoo. My friends used to say that whenever I enter to the room, I bring like joy and light and a feeling that everything will, in the end, gonna be all right. So I have that sort of impact, and that's something I'm very proud of. I've been involved in many activities in Otaniemi ever since I started my studies in 2015, all the way from Nesu KY and Kuva to Halloped and AYY board, to name a few.
Yeah, like you mentioned before, you've been involved in the whole AYY side of business in the student organization activities in the last year. And based on that, if you could change one thing based on your perspective at KY, what would it be?
Yeah, that is an excellent question to my mind.
Know, right?
One thing to buy me some more time. One thing perhaps related to continuously increasing amount of business students intake. One thing might be to benchmark from the volunteer organization structures from AYY. So they have these different kind of committees under, there are sections, but of course it can be some other kind of arrangement here at KY. But that way kind of like increase the participation level to volunteer activities. That would be one.
Very interesting. One final question for now. You've been a part of like KY's academic sector, academic affairs sector in many ways, as you mentioned before. How do you think that the sector has changed during these years? How could it be developed even further and better?
Yeah, to my mind, the kind of like dialogue between the school and KY has continuously been increased, which is a very nice thing to notice. And the roles inside KOVA academic committee have developed a lot since I was part of that specific committee. To develop further, I think there should be created some kind of like low barrier ways to kind of like give feedback of the studies for all the KY members, and some kind of platform that can kind of like reach members even widely.
Great topics, great ideas. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And next, I think we have Mikko Marjapori. Yes.
Hello, hello.
Okay. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Good luck to you, Miko, as well.
Thank you.
So as we mentioned in the briefing before, we've got 3 questions coming up, sort of a rule of thumb, 1 minute to answer for each. So be concise, be short, but be also as concrete as possible. And once more, good luck to you. Perhaps for answering the first question, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. So hello, KY. My name is Miko Marjapori. I'm a 3rd year finance student, and I came to the school through Open University Studies. Before applying to the board, I have been in Cultural Subcommittee 2020, where I was head of corporate relations. And this year I was bachelor's student for new Open Unimursus, as well as in Aava Community Section Festival Committee.
What a monster of words.
Yeah, it is.
And now you're applying for the KY board. So good general question. If you could change one thing at KY, what would it be?
Yeah, well, I think especially now, see, after coronavirus, a lot of people have fell out of the community and they don't feel like they belong in this community because like now the visible part of KY, in my opinion, is smaller and smaller. But I think I would change that and try to affect that through board work and core work and sorry, one moment. Yeah, so yeah, it's really sad because a lot of people, like, if they go through their school career never feeling part of the KY community, then I think we have failed.
It's not just in academia, but also in like general population as well due to the COVID pandemic. And that's a really like topical question right now. One more question about your application specifically. You said in your application that Core's role is important when moving out of the pandemic, as you mentioned before, because Core can bring people together by organizing career events, for example.
Yes.
What other responsibilities do Core members have besides organizing career events?
They have the account managing program that they have like a specific company that they're responsible for. Of course, some bigger corporate relations projects and well, work and career events. I think the main part of Core is still that even though it's corporate relations committee, through the corporate relations work, it's we are trying to get the work and career opportunities to everyone in KY. So yeah, I think that's my answer. I don't know if I forgot something, but yeah.
That's a great summarization. Thank you, Miko. Round of applause. He said that it wasn't that bad after all.
And after Miko, we have Valtteri Häkkinen.
Cheers, Valtteri. Good luck to you as well. And as we mentioned before in the briefing, 3 questions tops coming up, 1 minute to answer for each at tops would be a good rule of thumb. So be concise, be sweet, be concrete as possible. And good luck to this next couple of hours. Let's start up with you introducing yourself in 1 minute.
Well, hello, this is me. My name is Valtteri. I'm from Central Finland. I've lived in Espoo for 2 years now. And currently I'm on my 3rd year of studies in marketing. In KY, I've been in KUI, the Corso subcommittee, as a vice chair there in the year 2020. And I was a bachelor tutor this fall. And I enjoy people.
That's great to hear. That's good way to end it. Could you give us an example of a project or a decision that the current KY board has carried out this year that, in your opinion, has led the KY in the right direction?
Well, the code of conduct has been enforced a lot better this year than it has been before, so that's been a success in my book, actually. At least that's the most prominent one.
That's a good one. One more about your application specifically. You said that, or mentioned in your application that it's the board's responsibility to support the KY community in reforming and generating new traditions as the community faces challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the relocation to Otaniemi in like a couple of years ago. Based on that, what are some concrete steps that the board should be taking in next year regarding this aspect?
Well, that's a bit of a combined operation, if you ask me. It's a lot about the culture and communications that need to take those steps. Well, concretely put, I mean, well, how to wrap this up? Well, the way I see it, KY office and the board has been pretty distant from the community for years now. Even from my perspective, I've been here for 2 years, and that has made well, there's a gap between the community and the organizers and KY, and I would like to close that gap so that subcommittees, clubs, and all other organizers can ask and require things from KY more easily. It's a bit stiff now. It's a bit bureaucratic. And
that's a great objective. Thank you very much, Valtteri.
Thank you.
Round of applause.
And then we have Erik Halttonen.
Konnichiwa, Eric. Eric.
Servus, wie geht's?
As we mentioned before in the briefing, we've got 3 questions coming up, and we would like you to answer as sweet and concise as possible. You don't need to be in a hurry, but like 1 minute per each answer would be like a good rule of thumb. And good luck to you for the next couple of hours. First up, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, welcome everybody. My name is Eric. I'm a 3rd-year economics student, originally from Germany, but probably all of you know that already. I've got a pretty extensive history in volunteering in different organizations, actually already outside of Aalto and inside of Aalto. As you may know, I studied in Vaasa before coming here. I was actually a treasurer here, and then here at Aalto. I was at the cultural subcommittee, and after that in quite a few things involved, especially at AYY. I would see myself as a pretty good and flexible leader who can coordinate quite a lot of things at once and definitely get the things done that need to be achieved.
Let's get to dreaming for our second question. If you could change one thing at KY, what would it be?
Change one thing, that's a really good question, because KY is at a pretty good state, but definitely how we think about volunteers and what we give them, because at this time the spaces we have are pretty limited, and I would definitely change how we view them at this time, because there is quite a big need for spaces for every volunteer to especially hold meetings, and those that, for example, MMCO would only be reserved for events where there are participants and so on, and let the volunteers use, for example, the spaces of the university, or improve like what we have at Espila.
Good answer. One more coming up, and let's delve into your application a little bit. You mentioned in your application that KY needs to ensure that everyone has access to the premises and resources they need, basically what you were talking about before. Let's dive a little bit further deeper into that. What do you actually mean by that, and how could you ensure this goal as a board member, possibly responsible for new premises?
Yeah, the thing I was pointing out there is that there has been some talks about the student center, if it's only for volunteers or if it's for everybody. And one thing I would definitely like to see, that the new student center is for everybody and everybody has a reason to come there. And not only that, the volunteers that get chosen have access to there, because it's quite a rigorous process and somebody just can get left out because there were 2 equal parts and you just couldn't get in. Sorry, what was the question again?
Well, you were answering the what do you actually mean by that, and the second part would be how could you ensure this goal as a board member that it would actually be fulfilled?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I learned this year working at Kone, doing brick projects where there are quite a few stakeholders and which are definitely difficult but important for the organization. And I think I can get my will through when I decide so. And we are at the point with the student center that it definitely needs to be done the latest by now, especially from the viewpoint of KY, because if we take into account that in a few years we have 1,000 students coming here, our premises are definitely not what they should be. And for the time being, we should definitely also look at options outside of the student center.
Thank you very much, Eric. Round of applause.
And next up, Otso Lammi. Welcome, Otso.
Good afternoon to you as well, Otso. I'm here. So we got 3 questions coming up. Pretty simple questions, hopefully, and we wish for you to answer them concisely and sweetly. So like 1 minute per each answer would be a good rule of thumb. And let's test it out. Why would you introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Otso. I'm a second year ESM student from Helsinki. This past 1.5 years, I've been able to experience a lot of the culture, being a part of the subcommittee Nesu KY and AYY's Isännistä and Emännistä, and recently I've founded my own club, Lenkky. Some people would describe me as energetic and maybe a bit chaotic, but in a good way.
That was sweet and concise. Let's talk about you as a person. What kind of a role do you usually take in a team?
I wouldn't say I'm the most creative one who comes up with all these high-flying ideas. I'm the one that when I hear an idea or come with an idea, I can see it pretty straightforward, what I need to do, what resources I need, and how to organize it. And I tend to voice my ideas out pretty fast when I get excited about something.
And one more question about your application. You mentioned in your application, or stated more like that, you know what kind of venues KY needs. What are the needs actually, and how might they change when the student intake grows?
I think that what KY needs right now is something that can replace or will replace Alakertsi. So something that could fit maybe 300 students, 400 students that will work for Vappu and orientation week when we want to put everybody in the same place. And the current venues just won't do it.
Alakertsi never forget. Thank you very much, Otso. Round of applause.
Thank you.
I'm having fun as well. Great to hear some instant feedback. Let's keep the rapid pace up.
And after Otso, we have Aino Piipponen.
Hi, over here. Good afternoon, Aina. So as we mentioned before in the briefing, or more like Elina mentioned in the briefing, we got 3 questions coming up, and we hope that you answer them concisely and sweetly. There's no need to rush, but like 1 minute per each answer would be a good rule of thumb. And let's dive in. Please introduce yourself.
So hi, I'm Aino. I'm 21 years old, and this is my 3rd year at Aalto, and I'm majoring in accounting. And so it is my 3rd year at the business school. It is also my 3rd year at KY. And well, during my years at KY, I've been pretty active around culture. So I've been a part of cultural subcommittee Kuji, as well as cultural committee Kuva. And as I've been the tech responsible for both, I've also been a part of Teknistä. And I'm applying for the board as I feel like I want to do even more. This isn't it. I want to be a part of integrating KY to Otaniemi.
That sounds great. That was a great introduction. Let's talk about you as a person a little bit. What kind of a role do you usually take when you're part of a team?
Well, I think that I am a great listener, and I usually want to, like in a group, sometimes I might feel that I take a role as a listener at first, and then when I know that I have something smart to say, then I will say something smart. But other times I feel like I'm a great in making the group feel like work together well. So I think that I'm great in motivating others and being a part of being this silly person.
Sort of each coach is like dream player, sort of a person. I would concur. One more thing about your application. Let's talk about that a little bit. You talked a lot about KY's culture and how more resources should be put into it as we face challenges such as the pandemic, which is kind of dodging a whale in a short while, and the growing number of students, the intake is increasing, and those sort of things. How do these challenges affect like general board work and other areas of KY? What do you think?
So do you mean like culture or supporting volunteers?
Like in general, however you want to approach it. I'll let you decide.
So I think that the board should be like more approachable, and so make the volunteers feel like they're closer to the board. So it's not just board giving these instructions what to do or something, but also being the support for the volunteers. So it's a KY as a community, not only the board and then the volunteers and then the members.
That's absolutely great. Round of applause for Aino. Thank you very much.
And next up, Veishin Niemi.
Ciao.
Hello.
So a little bit of instructions before we dive in shortly. So we got 3 questions coming up, hopefully easy to answer, hopefully some a little bit challenging, and sort of a general rule of thumb, try to keep your answers like 1 minute per each answer so we can cover all areas kind of equally and those kinds of things. But good luck to you, Veishin, and let's start with you introducing yourself.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everyone here. Hello, everyone watching. I'm Veishin Niemi. I'm 22 years old. I'm a third-year student who's majoring in finance. I originally come from Vantaa, but nowadays live in Otaniemi. And my background before coming to KY was very active in sport, especially football and track and field. But during my time in KY and studying altogether, I've been very active in student life then. During my first year, I was a board member in the cultural subcommittee KUI, as well as in the AYY's hostess and hostess committee. And this year, I was a member in the AYY's community section AVA, and through that, I was also co-chairing the project committee. I'm applying to the KY board because I see this as the most interesting thing I could do next year, and I do want to have a significant impact in improving KY in the future.
Dope, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit more about KY in general. How could KY be better in hearing the opinions and ideas of our members? And could you, if possible, include some concrete examples on that?
Well, relating to what I'm applying is the academic affairs. So in that case, I think there's a lot of potential to get more out of our ideas and opinions out of our members, because there has been lacking the feedback what we get from the community. Of course, lectures, there's the courses do have feedbacks, but KY doesn't know about them. So we don't actually have such a concrete idea what to advocate. So I think that could be one way to get more. Some questionnaires from the members could be about this affairs would be very helpful.
That's an eternity problem and definitely super important. One more thing about your perhaps application or KY even further in general, as you mentioned in your application, student intake will increase in upcoming years and even more from now. And it is crucial that the quality of our teaching does not decrease at the same time. So what are the concrete solutions that you think that we could ensure that we will have high quality teaching in the future, despite these changes? What do you think?
Well, it's pretty much about the advocacy of our interest and our rights, because generally we cannot affect the causes and we cannot affect the funding of the school, but we have to somehow try to advocate that the school is trying to somehow find resources for the teaching, because even though some courses can be scaled, they can't be scaled up all the way. We need also individual support in our studies, so we need to fight that the business schools ensures that we have resources there, and also we have to ensure that there will be enough study spaces, because there's already a problem right now. So that's also an important part of what we need to advocate relating to this, because we cannot do it ourselves at all, because the teaching part is through the business school and their decisions.
Great ideas. Thank you very much, Beijing. One more, I think.
Yes, one more. Last but not least, Maria Karesoja.
Good afternoon, Maria.
Good afternoon.
So, as we mentioned in the briefing before, or Elina mentioned in the briefing, we got 3 questions coming up, and sort of a general rule of thumb, try to keep your answers around 1 minute or so. No need to rush, and you can take some more time in some question, and we have some room to wiggle around, but yeah, good luck to you. And let's start with you, introducing yourself. Go ahead.
All right, so hello everybody. My name is Maria Karesoja. I'm 23 years old, and I'm now studying my 4th year in ISM here in Aalto, and then 1st year in societal change at the University of Helsinki. During my years at KY, I've done quite a lot of volunteering. I started out as an active member in KY Sub, then moving on to bachelor's tutoring, being a part of 2 different clubs. In the annual ball committee, I was as well, and then in tutor committee. And the latest thing that I've done in KY has been to be a part of the sports and wellbeing committee, and through that also the Be Well project.
Great summary. Let's talk about KY for our second question. How could KY be better in hearing the opinions and ideas of our members? And could you give some concrete examples on what we could be doing better?
I think that questionnaires and that sort of things are a good start, but they have the problem that not enough maybe people answer, and the most active people answer them. So I think just one very concrete thing is to just be approachable, like the KY office to be approachable, so that people can come up to them, the office, and tell what they're thinking and feel like they're being heard. And I think that's the best way.
How could we do that more concretely?
So, organizing, some kind of chill events in Espila, going to where the students are, whether it be the U lobby or KY corner or whatnot. I think those kinds of things.
Sounds great. One more thing about your application specifically. You mentioned in your application that the ways of teaching and studying the Aalto Business School need to be re-evaluated to suit the students in sort of varying life situations, because all students are sort of different from each other and one another. What could be the concrete changes that you would like to see at the Aalto Business School?
Well, of course, the first one that I do know that has been discussed quite a lot is the possibility of doing video lectures. And I know that has been a difficulty, but I still do think that it's so important that it needs to be discussed further. But then what I also mean is maybe offering varying ways of, completing a course, whether it be, for example, choosing between doing an essay or an exam, because people do tend to learn things differently and show that differently.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Maria. Round of applause.
Thank you very much.
One last time.
So that was all of our candidates, which means that the individual part is now over. We'll have a short break, as I said earlier. It's now 5:51. Let's continue at 6:05, so like 14 minutes break. Yeah.
We're on schedule. Hey,
after the break, we'll continue with the panel discussion.
See you soon.
Has everyone come back from the break yet? Okay, I think we can then move on to the next part, which is the panel discussion. As you can see, we have chairs uncomfortably close to each other here up front. So come up and take a seat, pick anyone you want. And then I'm gonna give you a task. So distribute these name tags so that everyone has their own one. I can explain the panel practicalities at the same time. So as I said earlier, we're gonna go from one area of responsibility to another. And then we'll ask questions from those candidates who have applied for the specific responsibility. If you want to add to someone else's question, so basically if you want to answer that question too, you can raise your hand and then we'll let you speak if he feels like it, if there's time basically. And especially, as I said, especially those who have only applied to a small number of responsibilities, maybe if you want to have like more face time to have more time to present your ideas and thoughts, use that opportunity. Anything else?
Probably not really.
Yeah.
Or I mean, like a whole list of things that we will cover, but based on practicalities, not that much.
Yeah, that's all from me. Good luck.
Once again, a microphone check. 1, 2. What is this? As Elina mentioned before, just hand over the mics, spread accordingly and balancedly, and pass that around when you get the chance. And I will instruct you guys on who will answer each question. So let's start with the vice chair position, and let's begin with moving on with the order that I have in front of me. Laura, how would you keep yourself prepared to represent KY if the chair is not able to do that?
Yeah. So first of all, I would maintain a good kind of like conversation routine with the chairperson in like the daily activities to kind of like keep myself in a loop. But if it happens to be the case that it hasn't been possible, but it's already at the beginning of the year that I need to represent KY, then I suppose I would discuss with other people at the office, for example, the executive director, and kind of like trying to form the understanding of the topic and what is the things that I need to be prepared for.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Eric. How would you support the chair in his daily work?
That's kind of up to the chair, which kind of a personality he is, what kind of a support he wants, because I'm there to support him. And he has the best understanding of what kind of support he needs, and according to that, then I'd adjust. But in general, just to be there whenever needed and be up to date on everything that's going on, so that there's a seamless transition when there's once the opportunity to take the chair position.
And let's keep on with that sort of a topic. And next question is for Valtteri. Like Eric mentioned before, it's up to a large extent up to the chair and the vice chair to decide what their cooperation will look like and how the actual responsibilities are sort of divided and that kind of stuff. So how would you like to work together with Topias?
Well, I'm a quote the Finnish proverb "Paita and Peppu." So the chair would be the shirt, I guess, and the vice chair would be the butt. And that kind of answers to the first question, to like how to stay up to date and able to be the vice chair to if the chair is unable to attend or something. But basically work together closely in every concrete way possible, like physically and mentally and everything.
Shirt and the Booty would be a great name for a folk band, sort of. just thinking things on the improv. Hey, let's move on to the master students. And next question, or the first question on this the responsibility would go once again to Laura. And there have been comments that there should be more focus put into the orientation of new master students, sort of like what we were discussing before in the individual part. Could you give us some concrete examples of something that should be done or could be done?
Yeah, like related to the kind of like getting the master students more involved to the orientation, right? Yeah. Well, I suppose one concrete example which I've heard would be that, for example, say the board member responsible for the master students could be like involved to the orientation week related planning team, where are also the tutor coordinator and other persons who are somehow more involved in planning and organizing the orientation week, just to keep in the loop and kind of like share ideas and bring the needs of the master students, as they might differ quite a lot from those from like the bachelor's ones. So that would be one way.
Thank you. And next up, it would be Karen. We discussed in the previous section on the orientation. You have been talking a lot about that in your application as well. And let's move like 1 year or 2 years a little bit further into the future from the perspective of a new master student. How would you better promote different volunteer opportunities for our master students?
Do you mean during the orientation or?
After the orientation,
After the
like maybe second year, or like during the later part of the first year, or that kind of stuff.
Okay. I think that the best way is to get all the master students together and to give them the possibility to really discuss with the people and make sure that they know everything, because when I came as a master student, nobody told us anything. We didn't get any information about anything. And the Mursus got the information and chances to get to know everything. So I would bring the same opportunities to the master students, instead of just the master students interacting with their own group, but to see what else there is. So putting the master and bachelor students together in those things.
Thank you very much. And well, let's talk about Mursus then, and the new students' responsibility. And the first question would go to Erik. In addition to the Mursus or the first-year students, there are lots of other groups of new students coming in every year. For example, the new master students, as we talked before, or perhaps like exchange students and stuff like that. Karen already talked about her views, and Laura has talked about her views as well. But how would you enhance the possibilities for master's degree students to be more involved in the KY community?
First of all, there should be a clearer communication of where they can be involved. For example, there are some subcommittees where master students can apply. I think that there are little people who know that, and the same goes to kind of the clubs that we have, more smaller clubs, which probably master students don't even know exist. One easy way is to just put out a simple info letter that, yeah, here are your opportunities where you can go and what you can do. And incorporation of the master student, I actually wanted to add to the first question you asked about the masters, that yeah, I really think that the master's chair should definitely be included in all of the planning of the orientation week.
Betty, have you got like something to add on that?
Yeah,
Go
just
ahead.
a quick point. Yeah, I think communication is key, but in addition than telling them only what they can do and where they can join, I feel like it's an important part of integration for the students to actually know about all the different aspects of KY, even though they wouldn't be able to join some clubs or some or some subcommittees or whatever. And also to promote the chance that they actually don't have to volunteer in some association for 1 whole year, but instead they can use the opportunity that KYS has given to actually hold some individual events if they feel like it.
let's stick with the same important theme, and this one's for Aino. How would you prioritize the different groups of new students, and why would you do that? What's your thought process behind that? Take into consideration like new bachelor students and the new master students, international students, and perhaps also the exchange students. So to repeat, how would you prioritize different groups, and why do you think that?
Well, of course, I think that, well, we are getting more and more bachelor students all the time, but I also think that we haven't focused that much on the master students and the international students. So I think that that is definitely something to improve at KY. So I think that we have a great catch on the bachelor students right now, but well, the international side and the master student side is something to improve, and something to add maybe on master students and like the previous talk is to also think about those new master students that come from all over the Finland, because I think that, well, on my personal experience, I came from Kajaani, and I didn't have any friends here at first. So I think that we should really think about that when we are getting new master students, that they probably don't even have any friends at the beginning. So we must do something to that.
I was in a similar situation when I started my studies. Sodankylä, born and raised, Lapland. And one more question about the new students, and this one goes to Karen. What kind of different stakeholders would be relevant to you to work with if you get the new students' responsibility?
I would say that the clubs and the culture side, because during the intro weeks and things like that, most of the clubs are present in the activities. So I would bring those guys as well to welcome all the students, so that they would feel welcome from the different sides of KY, not just from their tutors.
Great. Let's talk about cultural affairs. A lot of you guys are interested in that responsibility, and let's begin with Valtteri. What do you think are the most important responsibilities that the board member responsible for culture has?
Well, of course, coordinating the culture sector, which includes some committees and the culture committee, and so that there is enough and good kind of culture, which means events and all that, throughout the year, so that everybody can be included in them and everybody feels welcome. There's something for everybody. And well, specifically for the next year, I think there's been a significant loss of like cohesion in the KY community due to the restrictions due to the pandemic. So next year, I'd say that's a big focus to bring some of that cohesion back in the form of well, I would say concretely like just more events, because there has been a shortage of tickets in the most general events so far this fall. So we need to get those new students as well as older students into the KY culture, and that's something that the culture person in the board will have to take care of.
Let's pass the mic to Otso, because you have the next question anyway, but do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, because I completely agree with what Valtteri said regarding the problems and well, needs of the community, but regarding the actual position and what needs to be, what the cultural responsible needs to do is, I think it's more about enabling, because when you look at what he or she has as responsibilities, it's over 100 events if we look at it broadly, but nobody can organize all of that by themselves. So it's more about enabling and giving the resources to everybody that needs them, regardless if it's traditional or a new association, or maybe even a private person who would like to participate and create that culture and fill that void that we might have with events right now.
Let's stick on that same theme for your question that we have coming up. As the board member responsible for culture, you would also be working closely together with the subcommittees. Queen is one sub, and are there any others still? This is the fossil speaking over here. So let's talk about the subcommittees. What would you do to improve the well-being of our beloved subcommittee members?
I think I try and, well, enabling again. I think that it's fun that we have as a subcommittee member right now. I think it's really good that we have the board is organizing events for us to get to know each other and all of that sort of thing. But I think we might need some more instructions and leading, because after all most of the people that are starting at subcommittees are first-year students who have just jumped into the culture. So we need more concrete ways to make sure that nobody burns out during the first 6 months, especially before they get to understand what the role is really about.
Let's give one comment to Miko and then we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah, thank you. I think that it would be very beneficial for the well-being of subcommittee members that the communication between board, KY board and subcommittee members would be so that the KY board would communicate more with all the members of the subcommittee, not just with the chairperson. Thank you.
Great. Pass the mic to Laura. How would you go about developing KY's Vappu celebrations to a time without the KY building? What an interesting question.
Yeah, you definitely stole my words on that one. It is an interesting question. I have actually thought about that a lot during my free time. I think one way is, or in here as well, I suppose that the key lays in the communication. So I think that's an kind of like development process that should be done quite participatory by kind of gathering different kind of like opinions and ideas, and from those I would say as our, well, kind of like, what is it called, the kind of like weight of all the events and operations is currently in Otaniemi. So I would definitely invest in investigating for especially those options that can be done here, whether it's like Vappu parade in between Espilä and Saha, or by using the Vaidejoki whales with those vesinas and that kind of innovative stuff. It includes a lot of like new opportunities, but just like to think about if there's a little spice of the old tradition that could be whether it would be like organizing KY's Vappu parade starting, well, close or in front of the KY building, but other activities at Otaniemi, that would be one option, for example.
Crazy brainstorming. I like the sound of that. Pass the mic to Eric. A lot of traditional events. This is once again another sort of eternity question. A lot of traditional events revolve around the alcohol usage and use of alcohol. What could be done to make KY's culture a little bit more attractive to the members who don't want to drink?
That's definitely interesting, because I think I have a little bit of different opinion than most of us, because I myself don't see a problem to go sober to events where different people drink, but I understand the people who think that they're not really comfortable there or they don't have fun. It's really difficult to think of a way where traditional drinking events can be made attractive to students who don't like to drink. The focus that I would like to put on there is creating events for them or totally new events which have a concept that there is an option to drink alcohol, but there are also concepts that it is not mandatory, because like at an after party it's quite difficult to like put, I don't know, a bungee jumping station there where you can go in sober or whatever it might be. But those are definitely things that should be incorporated into new concepts of events.
Let's give one comment to Aino this time.
Okay.
Steal the mic.
Well,
keep it short.
Yeah. So I think what should be changed is the big atmosphere about drinking. So I think that, well, myself, I've always thought that maybe I don't drink that much, and I've never felt the pressure, as I've always put the line there somewhere and everyone knows it. But I think we shouldn't glorify the drinking so much at our community, so maybe not bringing it always up that it is only fun if we drink. Maybe just changing the environment when talking about drinking.
Yeah, let's switch it up the formula a little bit. Let's keep the sort of adding comments to a minimum for a couple of minutes, so we have some time for Maria to answer questions as well. Let's move on to Karen, though. The board member responsible for culture works closely. Sorry, this is bad facilitating on my part. Karen, let's give the mic to you. The board member responsible for culture works closely together with KY's culture producer, who is currently Onni. What would you like your cooperation with Onni to be like?
I think atmosphere when ideas are appreciated, like changing ideas, and then just getting to know each other so that it's very easy to approach each other and just be. And then, yeah. And I quickly want to say to the alcohol just one thing, that at Hanken we did, when you went to a SITS party, you were asked alcohol or alcohol free. So when you sat in the table, you had a soda or a beer. So that was very easy to change the atmosphere about drinking.
That's a very concrete idea. Let's give the microphone to Aino. What are some of the most important themes that the KY's culture sector should focus on for next year? Name 2 things.
Well, like the main idea, I think, is integrating to Otaniemi better, and it includes these 2 things. So first of all, I think we should make the KY work here at Otaniemi, and I think that the board has actually managed to do at least the autumn here great this year, and we should continue that. How to make the culture seem here as vivid as it has been in Töölö. And also the another point is that I would actually like to integrate KY more to AYY. So maybe we should start with like doing collaboration with Kuva and Aava, and we could probably do some events together, or at least one per half a year. So we could start somewhere.
Sounds great. And one thing to add, so it was Karen who had to leave early. That was bad on my part. So let's move on to clubs and stick with the script. And Otso, would you like to answer this question, that what could KY do to make clubs more of an integral part of KY?
Well, first of all, I think that clubs are an integral part of KY in terms of culture already. I think that's clear, but I think the issue is that clubs don't feel, some clubs feel like they have to distance themselves from KY compared to, for instance, whereas subcommittees keep getting closer and closer and feel like they get the support that they need, whereas clubs maybe don't even know about all of the resources that they have and don't know about the support that they could get when they, for instance, contact KY for resources or project grants. And I'd like to add some kind of event, kind of like Honors Night is already, where we honor the clubs that are doing amazing things for our community.
Great. Next up would be Maria. How could we fairly distribute our resources to different clubs?
Well, I think, we have so many of them. So first of all, I think we really need to just evaluate on like what they're doing, how much they're doing. As we're already doing now, I know that they're like clubs fill out the application to get financing, but then also consider like how much they get their own income already. We have bigger clubs that are very much financially already independent. So to kind of just make sure that we look at the complete kind of situation that they have monetarily and so forth.
Great. And next up would be Karen. How could we create a little bit further stronger relationships and more open communication between KY office and KY's clubs?
I think that the club should be invited to come and join or come to the KY office and have an open discussion, and so that it would be or that kind of event would be organized frequently, so that the clubs would really feel that they are part of KYM, part of the discussion, and the discussion would go back and forth between the both, so that the clubs won't just be left alone on their own. And now I need to leave.
Round of applause to Karen. Thank you very much. And let's move on to the next responsibility. And now we can probably may take a little bit more time for if you have any adding comments or anything. That try to keep those to a short and sweet answers or addendums that you may have. But let's talk about new premises and temporary premises. And the first questions for Veeti. KY's premises are usually fully booked, and all the people willing to participate in events, they cannot fit in. The number of KY members will also grow dramatically in the future due to the increase in student intakes. How would you start solving this challenge? This is something that you have already talked about a little bit. But
Yeah, well, as I think I said earlier, that I think we need to look for the new premise solutions as a whole in Otaniemi, where we can actually find sustainable solutions, not only for the next couple of years until the student center gets done, but actually for the next 20, next 50 years. And I think the Saha and the upcoming student center are not gonna provide the necessary premises for KY. So we should find, maybe collaborate with AYY more into finding some common party venues that would be independently rented for individual parties and not necessarily having our own party venues in addition to Saha Student Center.
I mean, why not? That's a great idea. Let's continue with the same topic, and this one goes out to Miko. How should KY support its volunteers in finding alternative premises for their events now that KY's premises are used and almost at full capacity, as we mentioned before? How much should KY be doing, and how much should be left for the associations themselves to solve independently?
I think that KY should do quite a lot, because from Otaniemi especially, it's really hard to find event spaces. One idea that I had is that if KY board could maybe rent a trap factory from Otaniemi for like a certain amount of days a year, and that could be distributed to the clubs and subject clubs and so on, so everyone could have the some traditional events, because for instance Smökki is booked for every day this year, every day, so it's not a quite viable option. So I think that would be one good route to go.
Each and every day, Jesus Christ. Have you got something to add on that?
Yeah, I'd like to add that. I love the idea, but I think that especially financially, it would be more viable for KY to kind of like corporate relations work, to make deals with the maybe 10 premises that can actually hold 400 people in Espoo or Helsinki, so that subcommittees and clubs and other associations don't need to contact the places and introduce the concepts themselves, whereas they have already formed a line of communication. They just need to announce the specs and not the whole idea.
And keep the microphone for yourself for now. What do you think, Otso, or actually that's for Otso, what do you think will be the most important issue in the Student Center project next year? Yeah, that's for you.
I think that next year, so not when it's finished.
Yeah.
I think, well, first of all, it's the facts as what will we invest on in terms of event space materials, so audio, visuals, and other tools that our associations and volunteers can use. And then the common ground as to how the renting will work with 3 different participants, KY, AYY, and TEFA, so that it will be fair to all parties, but will also enable us to have enough chances to utilize the project that has been long awaited.
Yeah. Laura has got a comment. Would you like to add?
Yes, I could briefly add to the important topics related to Student Center project next year, the fundraising. between the three parties and holding up the active discussion starting this year, as it opens up lots of opportunities.
And the next question would go to Erik. How do you see the situation with premises before the student center is built and is finished? What actions should be taken?
I think in the last few years we have kind of researched all the time what we can do about it, and there are not that many great solutions, especially not in Otaniemi. But we should definitely take a look at what's around Otaniemi, maybe Tapiola, Leppävaara. That's not too far away if it's needed. But one thing which could be a short-term solution is giving clubs and associations a bit clearer picture of what, for example, a Night People group can provide us, and that they can arrange events there. They have a great deal with KY, and that they could a certain type of event hold at their solution or premises, for example, at Apollo or Maxine, like we did with economics. We hold our career starter there. And those are great spaces which are not all the time utilized. And most of our associations don't even know that they have the possibility to rent them mostly free.
Great, that should do it for this topic, and let's move on to academic affairs and educational affairs, my absolute favorite, for reasons unknown for anyone, perhaps. And let's give the microphone first to Maria. What do you think? How will you take students' well-being into consideration in your work in the academic affairs sector, hypothetically speaking?
Well, I think academic and educational affairs is a very integral part of student well-being, because a majority of students' time is spent studying. So I think that it's kind of already a lot of the times being taken into consideration. Advocating for students in that area, I believe, does support their well-being kind of already. So I think that it's already such an integral part of that. That's how.
I mean, it really is. Next up would be Laura. How could KY get more feedback and ideas related to academic affairs from its members?
Yeah, one way would definitely be to establish some kind of platform for collecting feedback. For example, one concrete example would be having this kind of form on the website, having both anonymous and non-anonymous responding options. That's definitely one, like I would say, quite nice start, but at the same time, other possibilities should also be investigated.
And next one goes to Vejin, actually. Absolutely, go ahead.
I already talked about this when I introduced myself about the questionnaires, and I think this is also a good place where we can do a lot of cooperation with the subject clubs, because they themselves have people responsible for academic affairs. So if we could somehow get the subject clubs also to themselves get questionnaires out of their own students, and then KY could help to coordinate with this, the academic affairs responsibles for that. And we could also utilize also someone from KOVA to do that, make that, for example, a responsibility, because we don't get a lot of feedback, the KY self, what I've heard about those issues. And I think getting for example, the academic affairs roundtable to be more active in this kind of things could be one of the possible solutions.
This is such an eternity question once again, and that's something that we, when I was at the KY board in 2014, we were discussing this specific topic back then. But let's talk about heart matters, aka KOVA. What do you think, Vejin, that is the current role of KOVA, the Academic Affairs Committee, regarding academic affairs, and how could that role be developed even further?
Well, right now, they are advocating the interest of students as a group. I think it's important that it gives a chance for other students to be active in these matters. It gives a platform for that. It's also important because two academic affairs people in the board compared to having more KOVA members gives a lot more heads to think about those things. It gives a platform to bounce ideas about these issues. And overall, they help to do a lot of this, to bring out a lot of things happening in teaching. For example, electing the teacher of the year, which I think is a good way to show how we want to give a platform for good teaching. What could be improved on the many people don't know what Kova actually does, and it's also hard for I asked the Kova responsible what Kova does, and they also said that it's hard to define what Kova actually does because it's advocating and they are not so in touch with school, those individual Kova members. So that's one thing that could be improved. Of course, it's difficult and that has been talked for eternity, but that's something that has to be continued to be improved. And also some structural changes could be done because right now the vice chair is the IT coordinator, which is good in the sense that when the new Kova comes, there's someone who's been in the old Kova, but in the other sense, the IT guy doesn't have a connection to the academic affairs through his job. So it's sort of, there's a disconnect in that, and maybe getting the vice chair through from Kova itself could be a good improvement.
What do you think?
Yeah, just to add to, as you said, not many people know what Kova does, and I think that expands to the whole sector, that people, our members, are not aware of what kind of advocating is done for them. So I would improve it to make it more transparent as to what Kova does and also what the academic affairs sector as a whole does, to just let the students know that, we are trying to help them and, they are being heard.
Let's leave the academic affairs a little bit behind ourselves, and let's move on to communication, which also includes the brand affairs. First question goes to Valtteri. What kind of shortcomings or points of improvement are there in KY's communications, which we have been talking about for basically the whole evening?
Well, it's a general shortcoming is that it's pretty one-sided. It's from where I've seen it, it's been mostly KY board, KY office sending out information towards organizers, subject clubs, and subcommittees, and it's a lacking aspect, the flow of information to the other direction, to KY board and to the office. And for example, to the well-being issue amongst the subcommittees, I had one concrete improvement, but I didn't get to say that, so I'll use this time now.
Go ahead.
Brilliant. So I think in subcommittees there should be this like more official form of informing KY board and office of the well-being. I think it was said before that the board should have conversations with all of the board subcommittee board members regarding the well-being matters, but that becomes kind of chaotic when the well-being coordinator or somebody else talks with 16 plus 10 people, and they don't all agree. So it should be more coordinated in that sense, and that's where communications come in, and they plan the communication so that it's not just on the shoulders of the well-being coordinator. So for example, that communications can be utilized in more than just informing the whole community. It should be about managing the whole flow of information throughout the whole organization, not just the like one way informing of the community, or even vice versa. But yes, that's a shortcoming I've seen.
Sounds great. And next one goes to Laura. I would like to hear your takeaway on KY's current communication channel choices.
Yes, there are currently multiple of those, which is good to my mind. I'm especially happy that communications channels have been brought into Telegram, and I think that's a quite nice add to the whole palette. I suppose, of course, the challenge is that not everyone is using every communication channel there is. So it can be the case that somebody is using Instagram but not Snapchat nor Facebook. So there's of course this difficulty to striking the balance, that if you kind of like drop some of the channels, what would it be? So in that sense, I would perhaps say that it's good that we have this multi-channel communication, but it could be considered that what are like even further, that what are the kind of like the different tasks of the different channels, even collect some data about if it's possible to collect some data about the uses, like user visits, clicks, so on and so forth, and that way kind of like form an understanding that what channels would serve the best. So that was a long answer, quite good, but could be better in a sense that it could be summarized somehow to drop some of the channels if possible.
Then let's move on to corporate relations this time. No further comments to add on this this time, so I'm sorry about that. But the next one goes to Otso. What kind of skills are needed, what do you think, as the board member responsible for corporate relations? What kind of skills are important? Do you think that you have those skills, and how have you used them in your perhaps previous responsibilities?
Absolutely. I think that first of all, what you need is you need to be presentable. You need to be able to sell yourself and sell the ideas that you have regarding KY and the projects that you're trying to get funds or products for. And I also think that you need a lot of organizational skills, because after all, the board responsible is an integral part of the process, but Core is the one that does a lot of the work also. So I think you need to be able to organize and motivate a large group of people, and to also teach them how to present the brand in a way that there isn't, for instance, it shouldn't matter where's to, is it me or if it's a Core member who's calling or presenting KY's ideas and concepts. And for that, the skills, I've been able to use those skills previously in my life back a couple of years ago when I worked as a sales team coordinator in the Reserve Officer School. So I had a team of 50 volunteers who I had to teach how to present the brand, present the idea that we were selling, and also how to sell. So I think those learnings and lessons are really a great benefit for me regarding this role.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Mikko. How do you think that the KY brand is seen amongst our employers and corporate partners? How would you improve the brand of KY's corporate relations and our students?
Yeah, so I think that the KY brand to corporations is generally really good. Of course, there's some might think that KY is only about partying, which is not, but so some might think that. One moment, I just lost my train of thought. Can you repeat the question so I can get back on this?
Absolutely. So what do you think that the employers, how they perceive and see the KY brand?
Yeah, I think it's generally good. I am a bit worried now that we have moved away from Helsinki. That will, if it affect that. And I would definitely like try to convince them that we are still like independent KY, not just part of guilds or something in Otaniemi.
And one more on this topic for Laura. How do you think our alumni can be cooperated with in order to achieve our goals in corporate relations and work and career sector in general?
I think, well, first of all, our alumni is, we have a very strong alumni network, and that's a very valuable resource to work with. I suppose some concrete places to cooperate with alumni are overall, well, different kind of like career opportunities. So we have many alumni working in a kind of like a diverse field of different kind of like sectors in working life, so to say. So definitely utilizing their know-how and their networks, for example, for getting better working opportunities for our young students who may have difficulties to find like summer jobs during the first year of the studies or after the first year of the studies. So that would be one very concrete example.
Let's talk about ownership steering. Mikko, what does the responsibility of ownership steering actually mean in the context of KY?
Yeah, it's quite a weird concept, but no, well, not. But it's about a talent, and the person responsible for ownership steering will attend the yearly meetings of A-Talent and communicate with the CEO and other board members in A-Talent. Some years there has also been some help with some A-Talent strategies, and also looking for new board members for A-Talent.
That was short and sweet. Let's talk next about sustainability, and this one goes to Maria. What concrete goal should KY achieve related to sustainability during 2022?
I think if we think of concrete goals, it's easiest to maybe look at the environmental side of sustainability. And I think with that, we've talked about recycling a lot, and still I have unfortunately seen that it's not really happening properly. So maybe to just try to finally once and for all kind of add to that, and now because we have new event spaces and we're looking for new premises, to really take into consideration how do we enable like proper recycling so that it's easy for the volunteers to do, so that it doesn't take effort from them, and then then we achieve that.
Keep the mic with you for now, because let's talk about well-being. You mentioned in your application that you have been a member of the Sports and Wellbeing Committee. So what is the one thing, based on your experience, that you would like to improve in the committee?
That's a hard one, as we have our chair right here listening. No.
I don't care about that.
No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I think one thing that we've discussed has been to maybe let the committee also know more about like other things that are being done in the well-being sector. So there is, LIHU does a lot of things, and a lot of focus, of course, in like meetings goes to that. But I think for LIHU members, it would be also very important for them to hear more about what else is happening. For example, I didn't know a lot of the advocacy work that, our chair has been doing. So it would be very good, I think, to communicate that more to the committee members, to include them more in the sector.
Yeah, I mean, for example, right? Next one goes to Laura, because you mentioned in your application that you feel that well-being should be emphasized by integrating all the students more tightly to our community. If you are chosen as the well-being responsible, or the person responsible for the well-being affairs, how would you improve this matter that you were talking about?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think one important initiative related to this that has been already carried out has been this Be Well program and the well-being tutors, and maybe kind of like broadening, if only possible, resource-wise, broadening the Be Well program, and I think it has been communicated in an amazing way. So on that side, I have nothing to suggest to be developed, but I suppose that yeah, kind of like offer even more KY members opportunity to be involved, and yeah.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, one aspect of well-being is definitely the students of it, especially now during Corona. Quite a few have been lonely, don't have really gotten to know friends. One thing for that to do, which we did at AYY, is an event buddy system. That would be great, especially for master students here at KY who don't know so many people. Another thing to do for the well-being of people is to get more people involved in volunteering at KY. For example, arrange events that require volunteers just for the one event. For example, we have Dipali Pikkujoulut this time, where 75 volunteers can come to work for just one day and meet new people and get the experience, and through that way to get them all together and know each other.
Sounds good. Let's move on to Alumni Affairs. And this one goes to Laura once again. What should cooperation between KY and KY Alumni look like now that KY Alumni is an independent association?
Yep. Based on my understanding, so the question was, what does it look like, if I heard right? And I think...
Or how should the cooperation look like?
How should it? Oh, okay. Yes. Well, I think especially now that KY Alumni is an independent association, it's a very good thing, as it kind of like helps to kind of like divide the alumni related responsibilities, but it also brings the importance for active two-sided communication and kind of like having regular communication ongoing. And one more thing that probably has been taking place this year, I'm not quite sure, but kind of like enhancing the cooperation between the KY alumni, KY and also like the Masters Club and Masters Studies, and kind of like brainstorming the ideas and trying to kind of like decrease the gap between pre-graduation and post-graduation would be one concrete thing.
Next one would be Miko. What kind of support should KY provide for subject clubs regarding the Alumni Affairs?
Well, I think that KY should wait, can you repeat that question? Sorry.
So what kind of support should KY provide for subject clubs when it comes to Alumni Affairs?
Yeah, maybe when KY is teaching, tell the benefits of alumni relations and such, because good alumni relations can help the subject clubs and whatever very good, because if you have good relations, that also preserves culture, and maybe they can get partners through that, like corporate partners. And so, but like in KY sense, I don't know what else I can answer that, sorry.
I mean, that's fine as well. Eric, let's talk about finance a little bit. This fall, there's been discussion about strengthening the finance responsible's role in taking care of KY's finances with the executive director. What would you want to do to increase your involvement in the hypothetical sense that you were elected for that?
Yeah, now looking from the outside, then it's quite difficult to see what all has been going on. Of course, budgeting is quite involving. But one thing that I would like to see as a finance person is be more involved in day-to-day tasks for, maybe for the cultural producer, or cultural representative, or well-being representative, and take more into account what they actually need, what they maybe could not need. There are quite a few events that could produce a little bit more money, which could be distributed in another way, but just be more involved in the whole process, where the money is coming from, the origin, and where it's going, that you get a bigger picture, and then when you make the budget arrangements, that you actually understand where you're putting that money and where it's essential.
Great. Let's then talk about internationality. We're just coming up for the final few responsibilities here. This one goes to Maria, and this is the final dedicated question for each of you guys. Then we'll move on to anyone's first come first serve type of business. But Maria, using the English language is an easy first step to take in order to promote internationality in our culture. But what else should be done to make the KY community closer for international students, a little bit more approachable?
Well, I think, yes, using English has been a very good thing, but we still, just coming from the kind of language usage, is we have a lot of traditions, we have a lot of, we do a lot of things that are not, even if we translated it to English, it's not very clear to maybe an international student as to what the Finnish student culture really entails. So I think, trying to even more explain as to like what are SITS parties and what are song evenings, or, whatnot. And when we explain that, I don't think it's that big of a problem then to have some of the events also in Finnish for them to also attend, because when they know like where they're going, what the event is like, I think our international students also understand that it's, sometimes some events are held in Finnish and they can still integrate. So I think that's what comes to my mind.
Veeti, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the first step would be actually to make volunteering at KYC more enjoyable for the international students by international committee or something, even more low barrier volunteering. So that way the volunteers or the international student that want to get more involved, and also everyone else would get something that is actually targeted for the internationals, which would also lower the gap if the internationals want to later on want to join the Finnish events and not be too scared that they might be like out of their mind and not wanting to join anything because the language is Finnish.
One more thing about the internationality, and this is for anyone can answer to this, and the shoulder is the starting point of your arm, so please be enthusiastic about using your arm to your full strength. But one problem that has been discovered is the fact that international students are not too familiar with KY's social media channels. How would you try to reach international students a little bit better than we do in the currently? And let's give this one to Otto.
Yeah, so I like the idea of incentivizing. So kind of like what we have been doing at NESU this year, for you to get the Mursu 2021 badge, you need to follow our social medias and show that. So something like that, where you get an overall badge or some other cool gadget when you can show that you have followed or gotten to know the social media channels.
Sounds good. Couple more responsibilities still coming up. The second to last would be, or the penultimate one would be subject clubs. Once again, anyone can answer this question. What kind of points for improvement are there in the cooperation between KY and our subject clubs? Beijing.
Well, overall, one thing is for sure is the IPI roundtable for the subject club chairs, because what I've heard, it has never been very useful. It has never been working well, and there has been no messages sent, for example, in the group chat for them. So being more active in that, trying to get from the board, trying to get it more active, and it doesn't have to have any like certain meetings or anything, but it should act more like as a support framework for subject clubs, so they can coordinate more, because of course many subject clubs have done cooperation, but that could be most probably improved, and because many subject clubs also vary in how much they do, so in that sense it could also help other subject clubs activate there.
Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, being in a subject club, it kind of differentiates between the clubs. But for example, a subject club is something where you can come to without that you have to have any experience in volunteering or anything else. And there are quite a few people who in the beginning are really enthusiastic, but then don't really know their role here or what they're even capable of doing. And we should definitely, from the KY side, better communicate what each role has the possibility to do. Let the subject clubs between themselves exchange themselves, or for example, at economics, we haven't really been in any contact to any other subject club. And just like the subcommittees, they should be more, or should get to know each other way better. And then maybe through that be explained, yeah, hey, you can do like, you don't have to do the exactly same events as last year. You can actually do something wholly different and just get the discussion going and better understand at KY what we actually, or what the subject clubs actually expect from us, because it's pretty much unknown, for example, at AYY side, what different clubs expect from AYY and what the communication should be and where should I go if I have a problem.
And Miko, please be concise.
Okay, yeah, so I think that through Kore's work, we could also help the corporate relations side of subject clubs, so that, because it's seen as a quite monster to call to some company, so I think Kore could help a lot with that.
Definitely support, and that is important. And one final responsibility, the last but definitely not the least, would be Proppa. Once again, anyone can answer this one. Proppa members who study on the Mikkeli campus are also an important part of the KY community, as we all know. What would you do to make them feel a little bit more connected to KY already during their bachelor's degree studies in Mikkeli? This one goes to, let's go with Aino first, if I see your...
Yeah, so I think that Proppa should be a part of especially Mursujaiset on the fall. I think that it's a great event to feel connected to KY, at least for me it was, right at the start, and maybe during the past few years it has been kind of hard because Mursujaiset has been a concept under Corona, but like on the following years we should think about Proppa more.
Beijing, what do you think?
Well, yeah, that was actually one of my points, that we should get Proppa members to participate in the big KY events, for example, Mursujaiset and Vappu, and to get them here. And what has been, I know before that there is there's some resources dedicated to this, and this should be kept, and this should be somehow also, and this should be just done. And overall, I think also that maybe the KY board or any more KY people we should also go to Mikkeli and to show that what KY is and that you are part of it, because what I've heard that Proppa members are often a bit disconnected from KY, and that could be improved in that way.
I'll give 2 more comments, and these go out to Laura and then Maria.
So many options. Yeah, I definitely do agree with the thought that it definitely works both ways, that whereas opportunities for like Proppa are offered to participate to events here, it would be important to also visit there in the events and kind of like have an open dialogue. As far as I remember and have understood, they have more like those compulsory attendances in lectures compared to, for example, what the situation is here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like taking into account also these kind of like special things affecting. And one more thing that came to my mind related to this would also be this increase in the intake of the new students, which will of course have an impact of Proppa and the situation in Mikkeli, to have a discussion about, well, for example, their needs for the new premises, because those are the places for students to connect and organize events and so forth. So that as a one addition.
And Maria, final words.
Laura actually said my point about the special kind of ways of studying there, so that's done.
That's all responsibilities covered, I think. And thank you very much. That was probably exhausting to you guys, but let's switch things up a little bit. So the candidates, as you can probably see on the stream, and you guys here in the hall, you are given a green and a red card, and you are asked to also close their eyes. They answer the questions with green meaning yes and red means no, without seeing what the other candidates are actually answering. So such a classic program number event for this session. And so green means yes, red means no. And you have to close your eyes. And we first go through all of the questions without stopping to hear any explanations. But after all of the questions, and I will tell you guys when the final question arrives, you guys can, if you want to, very shortly comment on some of your answers that you may have chosen. So let's test this approach a little bit. And once again, shoulder is the starting point of your arm. Close your eyes. And the test question would be, Jaloviina tastes good. Great. I'm seeing some green and also some red. Okay, first real question. I am motivated to be a board member even if I don't get any of the responsibilities that I applied for. Okay. I have talked with the current board members about the responsibilities that I applied for. Next up, KY should collaborate more with AYY and other associations within the Aalto community. Interesting. Maintaining relationships with other Finnish business school students associations is more important to KY than maintaining relationships with other student associations in the Aalto community. This is spicy. All right. Next up, organizing events is the most important thing that KY does for its members. Organizing events is the most important thing that KY does for its members. 4, 3, 2, okay, that's everyone. I would be okay with leading a group of volunteers, for example, a committee in English. Members of the board should answer texts or phone calls about KY-related matters also during weekends. All right. This is a tough one. I have read all the material that was sent to me for preparation. A couple of honest ones. Or maybe all of them are honest, I don't know. Let's test it out. I know how much KY Association's annual budget is. All right. And the final question, I think that I have performed well in this panel. Thank you. You may open your eyes. Do any of you guys want to elaborate on something? Varsågod.
Just quickly on the should you answer text on the weekends. I mean, the fact is that you, based on how the work is distributed, you basically have to, but the idea that you have to be always available also comes into account on that. So if you have something that you need to focus on or need to take a mental health day, it shouldn't matter whether it's the weekend or weekday. You don't have to be available all the time.
Personally, I agree very much on that. Maria, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your comment?
Yeah, the same question. I first was raising the red one, and then I started to think about it because I absolutely agree with what Otso said. But you know, especially if you're leading a committee, you're dealing with volunteers who mostly do their work during weekends. So then I realized that that's the reality and switched my vote. So just to clarify that.
Any other comments? Let's go with Miko.
Oh yeah, it was not about this. It was about another.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The budget was 482,000.
Is that correct? Yeah, that's some points for you there.
Thanks.
Eric, what do you have on your mind?
Yeah, applying to the culture responsible, I think events is the most visible thing that KY does, but advocating is still probably the thing that KY has or should have as the highest priority, even though that it is not the most visible to its members.
And a couple more short ones. Go ahead, Betty.
Yeah, and I also have a comment about answering on weekends, and I think the most important job that any KY member has is to actually be there for the community and to actually answer the text, even though the answer would be like, I'm having a break from work right now and I'm gonna look at this tomorrow, but actually to be there present for the volunteers and whoever contacts you is important.
Valtteri, go ahead.
Yeah, about the same thing that Eric took some account to. Yeah, events are great. Events are good. They are 90% of what I have experienced in KY. But still, the most important thing is to be the framework and the enabler, as also well said it before, for KY and culture. So that's why I raised the red for the events, although they are, well, a very, very central tool.
Nice. And Laura, final comment.
Yeah, returning to the team to answer the messages on weekends, I also actually realized the same thing as many did, that yeah, sometimes, well, it might be the best solution to do so. I think like especially depending on the like what kind of like combination of positions you're having, for example, cultural responsible, when it would be very beneficial to do so time to time, but then again, it would be very important to just like in general make sure that there are those like free days there, even though they are not on the weekends, and that way like take care of your well-being. As of course you can define the days yourselves, and the weekend days are not necessarily the best ones to have the time off the work, but just to keep that in mind for the sake of the well-being.
That was that section. Next, we should hopefully have some questions from the audience. So, members of the Representative Council and members of the current board, have you got any questions for our beloved candidates? Go ahead. Otso, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think I'd like to take a page out of Quiz playbook and how they're organizing events where they're going to different cities with buses to different pub crawls, and organize times where Proba members can load into buses, have a great time for the 4 hours that it takes to drive here, and then enjoy a great event where they get to network with the people that we have here, but also see a lot of familiar faces around them.
Anybody got something to add on that? Betty, go ahead.
Sorry, you now need to use the same microphone because I just took this one for the questions.
Pass that around.
But yeah, it's hard to say what the everyday life in Mikkeli looks like, but from KY's point of view, I think we should work on this together with Propa and find possible solutions if KY can actually finance some buses or some transportation for Proba even more oftenly to come to KY, even though it was just some sit lauluilta or bigger events like Vappumursiaiset, and to find actually make it easier for Proba to come here and also for us to come to Proba.
Great. Any more questions? I mean, hopefully there are. Go ahead.
Yes. So a question to all of you. How much did you talk with the current board member, or I mean the current board members, of those responsibilities that you might be overtaking during the coming year? What type of conversations did you have, and what was the vibe there?
Are we gonna go through all?
I mean, just answer if you wish. Or if you didn't, let's say if you didn't talk with them, why?
So far, 0 minutes.
Can I ask? Sorry, can I ask real quick why? Why did you not talk with them?
Well, first, I was very unsure if I was even going to apply, so it's a very recent idea for me. So that's the main reason.
Yeah, well, I talked to the board members that were responsible mainly of the premises. The two people, and both of them I talked for about an hour about all the situations that are going on, and also asked them about the general life in the board and all the like teams that are current, and also to the vice chair and about some other roles. So I think only by talking to those three people I got all the answers and the relevant information that I needed.
Yeah, I didn't really talk that much to any of them specifically about applying here, because I wanted to bring my own ideas here and not have them affected by what's going on, because I'm sure I will spend countless hours, if elected, talking to a former board member of what they have done, and will continue doing what they did, but I wanted to have a fresh opinion on whatever I might take to the table.
Yeah, I talked quite a lot. I talked with this year's head of corporate relations and the previous year's corporate relations and also previous years, or is it also this year's corporate relations coordinator. So I really wanted to get like a image on why I want this role and why like good image about corporate relations. And also I called the chair of the board as well about this applying. So yeah, there was quite many hours spent on that communication.
Well, I can safely say that I haven't really talked much with Alexi, so as the board responsible now for culture, and I can say that I felt kind of shy with talking about culture with him, and maybe because of the same reason as Erik said, that I wanted to bring something new to the table. So not only the thoughts that he says or the opinions he says. So I wanted to bring something new. And also I actually talked with many KY members from the culture sector altogether. So I had a variety of opinions, I guess.
Yeah, good question. I actually did this in sort of 3 parts, so to say. So during summer, I kind of realized that, this would actually be the thing I would like to do. So I sort of started to go some, rather informal but informative discussions with the like current board members, responsible for some of those sectors that I was very interested related to, for example, communications or corporate relations. Then I also had a discussion with Nicola Poikelus, the current chair, to kind of like have a good overview that what are kind of like the big trends this year and also the big upcoming trends. And then when I finally realized that, actually, advocacy stuff is something I would love to do next year, I put Elina a Telegram message, and also regarding the vice chair, because I also found that interesting. But that was something where I kind of like woke up at a little bit late point, but thanks to Elina, got a very good overview, kind of like broaden my understanding of those sectors.
Yes, I talked quite a lot with Jesse a couple of times about these issues, because I've been a long time interested in these issues. And on top of that, I talked with this year's COVA member about the issues they did this year, and I also talked to a last year's COVA member about what they did last year. So I got a good picture of what is happening. I don't have much else to say.
Yep, to refresh, I'm applying for the cultural clubs and both of the premises roles and the corporate relations roles, and I spent approximately maybe 40 minutes to an hour with each of the board responsibles this last week, because I too chose to apply only on the last day, so I hadn't had too much time, and talks made me realize one of my biggest shortcomings, which is that I didn't talk to the employee side enough, which I realized too late and didn't have time to organize. And the talks even got me interested in a couple of different areas of responsibility that I didn't apply for originally.
Yeah, I also talked with 2 of the board members. So the one responsible for sports well-being, clubs, and sustainability. And mostly with her, I talked more about like the general board work, because the well-being sector is sort of familiar to me through Bewell and Lihu. But then we talked a lot about kind of the advocacy side and the stakeholders, and then also with the responsible of academic affairs, which was very useful, because I'm not that familiar with the sector to begin with. So we had a very good discussion about what is going on in the sector and what has been done and what should be done and so forth.
Have we got any further questions?
Yep. But if somebody else wants to take a shot first, please. I can take one. I don't want to hold the mic.
Please go ahead.
So I'm a first year Muso right now. So if I understood correct, some of you are also applying to be the vice chair. Is that correct? And whom of you are? Can lift your hands up? So 4 of you. Okay. So I want to hear what kind of leadership qualities do you have as a leader?
Let's start from this side.
Leadership qualities. Yeah, great question. Well, perhaps like starting from the experience, as that's that's a very concrete step to beginning with. I have been like leading and responsible for several different kind of teams, those related to volunteering at KY or AYY, and also related to, well, RepCo work. I have been running the strategy committee this year under the AYY RepCo. But about the quality, as it eats a lot inside it, I think I have a good kind of like ways to kind of like stand the pressure and work under the pressure, as well as very good like empathy skills and this kind of like emotional intelligence. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. That also applies to the quality.
Yeah, could you please repeat the question?
Yes, so what kind of leadership qualities do you have?
All right, if it's only qualities, then let's not go too much into the experience. Yeah, experience just like being a chairperson of a subcommittee and committee, and then especially being a project manager at work is definitely something that you have to have good leadership skills. And the qualities, I see the most important qualities as being flexible and always trying to find a compromise that everybody is okay with. Definitely then being there. And one thing that I also put out in my application is being an enabler. You're there for the people that are on the board. You're trying to lead them, so trying to get them to do things they believe in, and then just being there for them to get those things done, and if it needs so, then in the end, make sure that they also get done.
Yeah, I would say that as leader, I want to create a relaxed environment for everyone to work independently in, and to actually give them the framework that they can do their own work, and just to be there to actually oversee if everything is going fine. And if everything is not going fine, or I see that someone is under too much pressure, then of course give them the support they need. But otherwise than that, I'm usually very relaxed even in more stressful situations. And when things are going wrong, I can always bring the like, hey, it's gonna be fine attitude.
Well, apart from kind of concrete requirements of a leader to be able to stay updated and in the loop and have a good, clear, big picture in your head, I like to stress the social side. I mean, in the end, you lead people, and you gotta be a people person about it. And well, just as Vedi said about the relaxed atmosphere, I think that's well, I can't really imagine a good group functioning well if it doesn't know it, if it doesn't know all of its members, or the members don't know each other well and can be relaxed. And in that sense, I can't say the quality. I don't know why it is, but in my experience, it's worked. In the groups I've led, it's worked. People have gotten along, known each other, and it's been relaxed. Ideas flow freely and so forth.
I think that's probably it for the questions from the audience, if there aren't any on stream or anything. Well, if it's short, go ahead, if you had something. Yes.
So this is
and this is the final
to you interested of culture. So as we talked previously, the student intake is growing quite rapidly. And at the same time, the clubs are getting more like distant from KY itself. And as the student intake grows, the diversity grows, which is a blessing, but the cultural side is going into a different direction. Like, do you see that as a threat to KY and its culture and traditions? And like, how would you prevent that? How would you advocate clubs more into the decision making?
Aino, go ahead. Or do you have any comments on that, Valtteri?
Yes, I do, and I have
Go ahead. Want to
keep it. Well, I lost my train of thought just answering to that.
Sorry.
Can you repeat it in a
yeah, like
concise?
to put it short, like we're getting more students that require more culture and more diverse culture, but the clubs and stuff like out of subcommittee work or committee work are like getting more distant from KY, and they aren't as active as before. Like, how would you prevent that? How would you like ensure that we have a richer culture for our new students in the future?
Well, again, this is a combined operation with a lot of other things than just culture, because of the, for example, we talked about the integration of international students during orientation and after that. So I see it's a lot about integration and how we do that when it comes to international students and more diverse student base and Mursu base. That's how we get them interested, and when it comes to clubs and subject clubs functioning in KY, how we make that work with more diversity. Well, I said that in my intro when I first was here. We need to close the gap between subject clubs and KY, and like through that, and that's where the train of thought lost me in the in the past minutes, and it did it again. But I had a point.
We can come back to that, but
yes,
let's pass the mic to
raise my hand if it comes back.
Eric, and then
KY is its members. KY should change as its members change. We shouldn't hold on to anything because that's what KY is. And especially as there are new students coming in, new students with different interests, some minority groups get bigger, we should definitely enable those people to create new clubs. They have great ideas, and just to be there. And of course, clubs should be near to KY, and they are really an essential part to what we do, but they are kind of independent, and we should let them be independent and just enable what they are doing.
Yeah, so actually on my application, I talk a lot about focus on training volunteers, and I think that a vital part for volunteers being creative and being more open to new students, and as the member base is growing, I think that we should train the volunteers so that they know what they're doing. They know that they're confident, they know the basic things, and then they can give more. And I think that one concrete idea for that would be that we should focus also on roundtables that are about communication and so on. So for example, Teknista is also a great point that, well, maybe by collecting the people that know tech stuff are together, they can also think about together things, what to do differently at the events so they can do them better. And I think that like connecting all the volunteers gives them also support from each other and gives them space for creativity.
Yeah, you've heard quite a lot, so I'll keep smooth. And I think it's three things. So first, as we have covered here, training and informing the current clubs and subject clubs and subcommittees of the situation and helping them understand it and create better things. After that comes integration. More people are integrated, more richer student base is integrated, and a richer student base that has been enabled to create culture will create a richer culture, which will work for the student base that will be.
Thank you. And that's probably it for questions from the audience, because our schedule is approaching closely to full bar, but let's not be too sour about that. You guys have been doing absolutely great, and based on what the status that I was in back in when I was basically sitting at your position, let's say that evolution has been developing at a faster speed than I have, but you can be proud of yourselves for tonight's performance. You guys have been absolutely great. But it's time to approach the final questions and the final main straight. The classic question: if you could choose one other candidate for the board to be alongside you, who would you choose and why?
And just to save time, please do not start your answers with, "Oh, it should be like everyone performed well tonight." And so
we
know that everyone did perform well. So please just tell who you would choose and why.
Try to be short.
My answer is Veisin, because he is probably in the top 2 hardworking and reliable people I know. Top 3.
Yeah, good it is. But I'd have to maybe say Miko, because he has the kind of like same attitude that I usually do, that he's really relaxed always, even though I've seen him going through some stressful times, but he still managed to do it.
Yeah, definitely Topias. And then next to that, I have to say Weisin as well. He has helped me a lot, especially in Alva this year, and I just see him as a great friend.
Yeah, I'm going to say Aino, because she is one of the hardest working people I know.
I would say Biko, because actually one great memory, this is short, but yeah, so we work at the same overall project on the year 2020, and it was kind of hard because the corona hit us on that year, but we still had like many hours on Zoom where we talked with Miko, mostly like many times, only 2 of us, and it was fun, even though it was tough.
Yes, I would say Otso, because I think in today's panel you brought very good, like insights and concrete ideas on regarding KY in general and all the sectors to which you responded to the questions.
Yes, I would have to say I know, because I know how well she knows the culture sector stuff, and I know that she's very hardworking.
I think I'd also have to go with Aino, because I feel like whereas I can find concrete solutions, I think what I have gathered from this and beforehand is that she is a very creative and open-minded person, which would bring great different benefits than what I could ever provide.
I would also say Otso, because I think he brought some really good, fresh ideas into this panel today.
And one final question. And this is probably, leave your best impressions to the table, and you actually get 10 seconds to think about your answer, and only after those 10-ish seconds have been passed, I'll tell you guys where we actually start our final round for tonight. In one sentence, why should you be chosen to be on KY board for next year? And you may think your answer a bit. Yeah, that's probably enough. Let's begin with you, Maria.
I should be chosen for the board because of my enthusiasm, love for KY, and social skills.
I should be chosen for the board because I create a great environment for everybody to shine in and try to help everybody achieve what they want to achieve.
Well, I think I should be chosen because I have a good overall pitch of KY, and because I have a real passion to do what I want to do next year.
I think that I should be chosen to a KY board because I have a very broad understanding and experience of KY and Aalto community, as well as fresh ideas to bring in, and very energetic personality that supports others.
I think that I should be chosen for the board because I have great recent experience from working at KY and especially with KY's culture, and also I think that I have great vision for next year, what I would like to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think I should be chosen because I have skills, experience, and most importantly, passion towards KY.
I think I should be chosen because of my experience, my will to learn always new things, and that I want to give back to the community that has given me so much.
Yeah, during my years, I fell in love with the KY community, and I've gotten a broad view and some concrete ideas that I also have the enthusiasm to actually make come true.
Well, I've gotten so much from KY that I want to give some back, and along with the experience I've gotten, if nobody else will bring humor to the board, I will.
And on that note, that's everything, Topias. It's up to you now. One final time, great round of applause for Veeti, Karen, Laura, Miko, Valtteri, Erik, Otso, Aino, Veisin, and Maria. Thank you guys.
Woo.
Class dismissed.
Yes, class dismissed. Thank you so much, all the candidates. You did so well. Just leave them anywhere, basically.